And he was not the oldest, was he?
No, he was between.
Okay.
One brother older, one brother younger. And then there was quite a few girls older and some of them younger. But then I think the following year, some of the girls came to stay some. And they eventually added to the house. Now that's before he married Mom. He married her in 1912. And she had the 5 children.
Right.
A little brother died 5 days after she died.
And where was she from?
She was from Indian Reserve, which was about 7 miles from where our home was.
Okay. And was the Bedard family from that
kind
area?
of a French settlement there. And she was Anna Bedard. And there were 3 nuns out of that family, my aunt. And there were 13 children in that family.
Is that right?
Yeah, in that family. And then when Ma died, Dad had the bug.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, see, that was an epidemic. At Fort Custer here, soldiers were dying by the dozens, I guess. And it was just high fever. And they were using quinine to try to hold it down. But they, in fact, where we're living now, there was 3 women, the mother and 2 daughters, I think, the way it was, died in 1 week from that, you know. So they were busy.
Was that during the big flu epidemic in the teens, the late teens?
Anyway.
How about Grandpa looking out the window at his wife's funeral?
He and Annabelle and I were upstairs in the bedroom watching the sleighs and the people she was showing at the house. And they were taking her up for burial in sleighs because it was in March, you know. And that's about all you could travel in at that time up there. Because then
how old were you?
I was almost 6.
Okay. Do you remember that? Remember your?
Oh, I can remember watching from the window with Dad, because Dad was crying, and I couldn't wonder why a man would be crying. That part I could remember.
Do you remember your mother much?
Pardon me?
Do you remember your natural mother much?
Not a whole lot, but I have some. Yeah. And then Dad married, and a second family started. My oldest brother of that group was my brother George Edward. And then Leo, you know him, was next. And there were 9 children that lived from that family. So Dad had 14 children altogether. And 8 of us are still living. 10 of us are still living. 10 of us. The 4 original from the Bedard mother are still living.
Wow.
And then the oldest brother is gone, Edward. We called him Ed. And then the next one was Art, and Raymond died of polio. He was 2 weeks before he died, he was playing football at Catholic Central, for Catholic Central. He was a big kid for his age. He looked more like Dad than anybody I thought of the brothers. I think Lawrence kind of looked like Dad. But Dad was such a big man that he was known, you know. But, like I said, he was a very close friend to me. Taught me most of the things I knew.
Well, Share some of those. What things made an impression? All those times with him that you spent.
Well, just about anything.
What about women?
Did he teach you about women?
No, he wasn't that much to talk about male and female things.
You told me about when he said,
You don't touch women until you're married to them.
yeah,
Their body parts until you're married to them. And he said, and you don't mess with other men's women.
that's what it was. He would tell me.
He always was strict about that. Well, he quoted the Bible, you know.
Mhm.
So what did he teach you about religion?
Well, the ordinary things, but you take things that we learned in catechism, and he'd increase on them, so on.
10 Commandments.
Yeah. Now, he wasn't one to read a lot, although he could read and write in French and English.
What was his education level?
Well, equal to 4th grade, I think.
And that was all in Canada?
Yeah, altogether. 4th grade in French, 4th grade in English.
Oh, so he simultaneously was studying French and English while he was growing up?
I think so.
And his family spoke French at home?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Annabelle and I and older kids, all our prayers were French till we got ready to go to school.
I see. So you originally spoke French, not English?
Yeah. Well, and it's American French, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's not. I spoke with people from France and to slow them down, or even Canadians. You know, talk slower. You're talking too fast for them. Yeah. But no, it's really surprising the difference in dialect and so on, people. But now I was surprised one time we had a Knights of Columbus deal at St. Michael's, and there were some black men there that from Oregon, not from Oregon, from New Orleans, that spoke French. And that kind of surprised me. And they were Catholic besides, because they were Knights of Columbus members. And they were the same way. They spoke faster than what I could stay with. I guess maybe I was always a little bit slow at grasping the fast-talking people.
Now, did you know your grandparents?
Pardon me?
Did you know your grandparents?
Oh, yes. Well, I knew my both mothers' parents. In fact, the two grandparents, the Bedards and the Levantes, were good friends. You know.
Is that right?
Yes, and I don't know, either Marie or Annabelle asked Grandma Bedard what she should call Mom, you know. See, I always said Ma and Mom for, or actually stepmom, you know.
Right.
Never spoke of her as a stepmother. She was always Mom to me.
And you'd known her before. She was living in the house before that anyway.
Well, she worked for my mother as a young girl doing house chores and so on. But she wasn't very old. She might have been 15 or something like that. And then when that flu started, her older sister came and took her place. And one of my uncles, Bedards, took her home in a horse and cutter in the wintertime, you know. I don't know, she didn't feel good or whatever, and he took her home. She always made something of that. My uncle took her home in a horse and cutter. But see, when Grandpa after Ma and Dad got married, Grandpa turned the farm over to him and her, and they made rulings in the deed that he would have a horse and buggy or cutter or whatever he needed, and his room and board, and things such as that. And they'd stay at our place, at the farm.
So what was your grandfather Aube like?
He was a comical old man, but I
Really?
don't remember him that well, because he died in 1917. So I was the first part of 14, but see, Annabelle was the first part of 13, but I was a week. I caught up with her. They were not quite a year apart. So.
And your grandmother Aube?
Well, no, she died in Canada.
Okay. And that was
long before. Dad was only 5 when she died.
Oh, is that right? And did Alfred ever remarry?
Pardon me?
Did Alfred ever remarry? Did your grandfather?
Well, I guess he did. At least a woman come and stayed with them, whether they were married or not.
I see.
But according to the papers, I guess he had married her.
Okay. And
But
who was that?
She had a boy, and she took Grandpa for a role, I guess. So,
And who was? Do you know who she was?
no. It probably was in
Wasn't her name starts with a D? Delima.
Delhi.
Is that the one? Okay, I remember the name Delima in the
Yeah.
genealogy. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, that's why Grandpa come to Michigan, I think.
Ah.
Running away from Delima.
Aha.
Because she had taken,
So did that child live?
probably, I don't know. And I never heard.
That might be
I
something.
can't say that I